Hi, is this an okay time? Okay, surprise! I'm in Peru, and I'm at Machu Picchu. Isn't this just so beautiful? I'm here by myself, and I used to do a ton of solo traveling. I'm telling you, it's the best. If you could ever do a solo trip somewhere, it is such a good way to get to know yourself better. But I came here to feel something, you know what I mean? And I definitely have. I've done shaman ceremonies that were like 10 years worth of therapy. It was wild. I've seen a lot of llamas, and the people here are so kind. I feel very safe here. It's a little sad that I had to leave my country to feel safe, but that will get better eventually. And I am dying for some Trader Joe's rolled chili lime chips. But other than that, I am so content. Still haven't been kissed yet, but I'm holding out hope. And most of all, you know, this trip has me feeling like I'm my own best friend again. And that is the best feeling in the world. And I hope that you feel that way about yourself too.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about a fascinating segment that happened on CNN that has a lot of the woke revolutionaries upset because, you know, Dylan Mulvaney is currently out of the U.S., okay? Dylan is in Peru because Dylan apparently doesn't feel safe in the U.S. because of criticism about them, I guess. I'm not sure exactly why Dylan doesn't feel safe. Probably the same reason that the woke revolutionaries, anytime they receive any criticism, they claim that they don't feel safe as a way to deflect from any type of criticism. I think criticism is just par for the course when you are a public figure, okay? It happens every single day. People come in my comment section and criticize me and say this, say that. I receive these emails every single day, and you don't see me, trying to skip the country just so I can feel safe, right? It's truly a fascinating thing to behold, okay? And what is even more fascinating than that is the fact that CNN is covering the Bud Light backlash, okay? Because, you know, Bud Light, as we all know, is facing a boycott from Americans who are upset with them embracing the woke agenda. And during this segment, CNN upset the woke revolutionaries. They had a meltdown because CNN accidentally misgendered Dylan Mulvaney. Take a look.
All right, let's go to this. More fallout from the Bud Light boycott. Sales dropped by more than 28% over the last 4 weeks. It follows a backlash after the brand partnered with a transgender influencer. And now Bud Light is getting more pushback, this time from the LGBTQ community as well. Let's get to Brian Young. He's following all this. Ryan, this seems to be the controversy that just won't quit. What now?
Yeah, you know, we are talking a lot these days, it seems like, about culture wars. I mean, just that last conversation you and Sarah were having kind of ducktails all into this because everyone seems to be taking sides over everything. And it really got to the point where we went out to the streets to talk to people just to get their ideas about how much confusion and how much anger has been caused by this Bud Light controversy. Just listen to the people on the street who were sort of upset that this has gotten taken so far out of hand.
It's quite simple. People just don't want it shoved down their throat.
No Bud Light, because it's like I have grandchildren. We don't need to put that in the young kids' heads.
We had one guy who said, I refuse to drink that anymore. One guy. And everybody else in the bar kind of rolled their eyes at him.
Yeah, America's really split on a lot of topics, whether it comes to voting, but this Bud Light really seems to send a chasm right down the middle in terms of talking to folks. We went to Nashville. We even talked to a bar in Chicago. One bar was telling us basically they're not going to serve it because they don't like the way Dylan Mulvaney was treated after this whole controversy started. He, of course, is the transgender person they were going to sponsor and go along with Bud Light. They didn't like how Bud Light didn't stand by him after all this. Of course, you have Kid Rock, who said that he would not serve Bud Light in his bar. He shot up a case of Bud Light. At this point, though, Kate, we went back to that bar a couple days ago. Bud Light's being served again. But now we're starting to see those sales have really dropped off more than 28%.
Ryan, it's really interesting and great that you got the temperature from people you're talking to. It's one of
the culture war.
It's something.
It's the culture wars.
It's a tough time.
Yeah, it is.
Tough time.
Ryan Young, it was a great story. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. I'm not sure if you guys noticed that the black male commentator at CNN misgendered Dylan. Now, Big Tech will probably, say that segment is hate speech, right? I wonder if they classify that as hate speech, because if anybody else did that, they probably would say that's what it is, okay? But we know the woke revolutionary is upset. They definitely think that it's hate speech, right? As this person right here, Ari Drennan, tweeted in outrage here about this quote-unquote unbelievably bad CNN segment, right? They say, quote, fails to interrogate where the Bud Light boycott came from, launders perspectives of people who think their grandchildren will be harmed by the knowledge that trans people exist, misgenders Dylan Mulvaney. This segment could have run on Fox News. So yeah, CNN is receiving backlash for this, okay? We have some more comments here. Mediamatic's critic Ari Drennan shared footage of the less than 2-minute clip, ripping it as an unbelievably bad CNN segment. GD, that sucked, agreed the media watchdog's research director, Craig Harrington. Quote, wow, absolute garbage segment, a Media Matters follower wrote, while another called it, quote, despicably poor journalism. Quote, what horrible coverage, and the pundit couldn't even correct the misgendering of Dylan. This makes me sad, another said. Neither Young, Baldwin, or CNN News Central addressed the backlash, and CNN did not immediately return a request for comment early Wednesday. I mean, you got to cut the guy some slack, right? He's black, right? He's black, okay? He may be an affirmative action hire at CNN, right? Because apparently people like Joy Reid and Sheila Jackson Lee believe that all black people that get into good schools or that get, jobs at places like CNN or whatever, affirmative action. So who knows? You got to cut the man some slack, okay? I'm pretty sure he did not, misgender Dylan on purpose, right? I'm sure he's down with the woke agenda. If not, he probably would not have got a job at CNN. But then again, who knows? Maybe it was a Freudian slip, right? Maybe this guy knows that, hey, you know what? I'm going to go along with what I know, right? And maybe he just forgot to go along with the propaganda. But anyways, CNN eventually apologized to the mob, okay, for misgendering Dylan.
Before we wrap up today, we do want to make an important note. Yesterday, in a segment about transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney, who was featured in Bud Light's recent campaign, she was mistakenly referred to by the wrong pronoun. And CNN aims to honor individuals' ways of identifying themselves, and we apologize for that error.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Of course, and unsurprisingly, CNN caved to the mob, right? Because CNN has to show that they're sufficiently woke, right? And it's just, again, that's just how it goes, right? In 2023, they always cave to the mob. So that being said, we got to talk about Bud Light and what's going on with Bud Light once again, because the news for this once great company just continues to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Again, this is probably the most successful boycott in history. So successful that even CNN is forced to acknowledge its existence. I'm not sure if MSNBC has acknowledged it yet, but maybe eventually they will, okay? But regardless, Bud Light plummets to 14th place among beers as Anheuser-Busch CEO pleads for consumers to think of the 65,000 employees impacted by boycotts. Yeah, so the CEO is trying to guilt trip people into not boycotting the beer anymore, because we're supposed to care about the employees, right? And their livelihoods, okay? Because who knows? Maybe, just maybe, Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch may start to issue layoffs due to the decline in sales, which to me is fascinating, because in an earnings call, this guy said, well, globally, we don't expect the boycott to really affect us that much, right? And Wall Street, when the boycott first started, basically was betting against conservatives, right? Betting that we don't have the cojones to stick out this boycott. Now, all of a sudden, these people are begging for forgiveness, right? They're begging for mercy, okay? But unfortunately for them, forgiveness is for Jesus, right? And it doesn't look like conservatives are in the mood to forgive, right? So let's read about this, because Bud Light is really, really, really not in a good place. So let's read here. As Bud Light, once a beloved contender among the country's favorite beers, spirals down to the 14th spot, the repercussions resonate far beyond the brand itself. A recent YouGov survey reveals the decline in Bud Light's ranking, casting it below competitors like Bass Blue Ribbon, Miller Genuine Draft, and Miller Lite. This seismic shift is in popularity jeopardizes the livelihoods of the 65,000 people whose economic well-being is intricately tied to Anheuser-Busch's InBev's success. Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth has taken full responsibility for the controversial promotion involving transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney that caused sales to plummet. In an interview with CBS, Whitworth emphasized that he is ultimately accountable for the actions of the company, expressing concerns for the people whose livelihoods depend on Anheuser-Busch. Quote, "It's the impact, honestly, on the employees that weighs the most on me," he said. Whitworth called on people not to punish the workforce, but rather to attribute blame to him. He made it clear that he acknowledges the repercussions of the promotion and urged consumers to continue supporting Bud Light. Now, here's the problem, right? Here's the problem with that. People are not punishing the employees. People are just saying, look, I don't want to drink Bud Light anymore. And if the CEO is so concerned about his employees, if he's putting the employees first, he is taking full responsibility, then he needs to step down, right? He needs to quit, which is ultimately, in my opinion, what's going to happen, right? This guy's going to step down. He's going to quit. And if he starts laying off employees over this boycott and then trying to guilt trip conservatives for these people losing their jobs, it's not going to work, right? I mean, that's going to backfire epically on the company because, again, if he really cares about employees that much, he needs to step down first. Now, again, this comes as Bud Light, we saw during Pride Month, was sponsoring, pride parades in which you had children show up, okay, and were exposed allegedly to people who, were not fully clothed or whatever, right? And Bud Light is proudly sponsoring this stuff, okay? Which, again, let me be clear. I don't really care about Bud Light sponsoring Pride events. If they want to do that, that's fine. But when you start sponsoring events where you have children there, then yeah, that becomes a problem, right? People are going to have an issue with that, okay? So again, Bud Light wants to have its cake and eat it too. Unfortunately, that's not the reality of today's politics, okay? They're getting backlash from the wokes, and they're also getting backlash from conservatives. They're trying to thread a needle that they simply can't thread, right? You can't, okay? You got to pick a side. And at this point, I think that this CEO needs to step down because this guy is absolutely clueless. While Anheuser-Busch has attempted to downplay Mulvaney's role in its overall strategy, Whitworth confirmed that the company will maintain its partnerships without making any changes. AKA, like I told you guys, they're going to keep sponsoring woke events, okay? Regardless of how controversial they are, because again, they spent so many years trying to build up brand equity with young people, okay? And they don't want to throw all that away. But again, they got to choose a side. He did not explicitly apologize for the collaboration with Mulvaney, despite some consumers demanding an official acknowledgement of the mistake as a prerequisite for restoring their patronage. The company's decisions have been perceived as a breach of the unspoken bar rules that strictly discourage discussions of politics or religion. As long as the company fails to acknowledge or address the concerns, it is anticipated that the boycotts will persist. Yeah, absolutely. They are going to persist, right? So yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. Again, this guy is in over his head. He has no clue what's going on, and Bud Light continues to suffer as a consequence. Now, again, this guy is trying to guilt trip conservatives into ending the boycott by saying that, well, our employees might get fired, right? People are going to get hurt. And it's like, okay, well, before you fire anybody, you need to make sure you step down. Okay, you need to make sure that you quit, right? And who knows, maybe that could be, the solution here. Maybe this guy needs to step down and quit and somebody else needs to take over. And assuming that the successor to this guy is not woke, maybe that will right the ship. However, that remains to be seen. We really don't know. In the meantime, again, things are getting so bad that even the liberal media is covering this situation, right? And it seems like everybody involved here is having a tough time. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.